Yeah, and I'm looking at the tiny patch notes, just kind of glancing over it, and but if I'm being honest, I feel like Tiny only got changed for the worse when it came to his job as a damage dealer. His building damage got more or less evened out. The big change to Tiny is that uh, a lot of his spells are now completely linked to Grow. You need to level up Grow. You need to attach it to do your additional toss damage to get more damage when it comes to sieging buildings. But the big change to Tree Grab is instead of 20% damage, it now just gives 20 damage flat. So better early on, but much worse at later stages of the game. So as a carry, that poses some questions as to how well you can actually scale here. And of course, he doesn't see the immediate threat here, and that's why they're banning out the lifestealer, just because Costabile could, kind of out carry him. But that also makes me kind of nervous for Lumiere, as that is a relatively big change to your hero. Not being able to do percentage based damage just kind of ruins your idea of scaling here. So how good is he actually going to be as a carry, or is he just going to be a pseudo kind of initiator for his team now? And maybe we see the Blink carry Tiny kind of resurrected here because he might not be able to do that just farming role anymore.
And, well, with the concerns that you just sort of listed off now, ET, do you consider just running it in the hands of Alone? Put it in the mid lane, see how it does up against presumably a Gunner Ember, or is that really not a risk that you think they're willing to take?
Well, I want to say that they can do that. Tiny versus Ember has always been all right, just because you do have enough magic damage to break the shield. But of course, it's a shield, so Ember doesn't feel the damage. You just remove his farming capabilities. That's why usually the South American teams run the Mars versus the Ember Spirit, because again, that damage is felt. It's physical damage on the God's Rebuke. Uh, I just don't think that that's the direction they've gone in, though. It's a really interesting direction, picking up the Tiny like this, but I don't know. They're going to keep us guessing here, but the problem, they don't have last pick, so they can't keep us waiting. They actually have to make a call of what they want to do and what they think their opponents are going to do here. And in banning banning the Sand King and the Timbersaw, they're saying that this is going to be probably a carry Tiny and a mid Mars, and I kind of have to agree, but again, I'm worried about the scalability. I'm worried about them taking this late and what the Tiny's actually going to be able to put out.
And, well, Alone in particular on the mid Mars is a player that, if memory serves, has kind of been really hit or miss on the mid Mars. A hero that already gets a little inconsistent when you put him in the mid. We've seen mid Mars as just destroy. I think we had Dark Mago on one earlier in the events, but not always the case. And then if the Mars gets sent mid and then doesn't get off to that strong start, you'll really compound that with the concerns we have about the Tiny, and could get a little bit okay. Could get a little bit concerning there, but Infamous are going to go in for the Ursa with that 5th pick, and, well, that does give them maybe someone with more consistent damage, and I think that now does kind of lock the Tiny into the middle lane.
Yeah, most likely not going to be Alone Tiny, going to be your Oscar Mars, and then Lumiere, arguably on one of his best heroes. Of course, Lumiere, you talk about the Magnus, you talk about the Dusa, and you kind of talk about the Ursa, but mainly you talk about the Monkey King. But no way anybody lets him get Monkey King, especially through that second phase, just because he is that much of a beast on it. At the same time, though, not going to care about RP that much now. You are going to get cared about, kind of skewered into the techies' minds, though, because even though you are inherently very tanky, you are going to have to kind of run the gauntlet here. And again, that's where we are going into untested waters here. How can a melee carry deal with the new proximity mines? How is he going to deal with the lobs if he's just going to be kited kind of inherently, or if he's going to have enough of that enrage to kind of walk through it all? A lot of questions proposed in this draft here, especially for 4 Zoomers, because we very well could likely see them get off to nothing and then just lose in 20 minutes, as we've seen many teams already kind of fall prey to today. But at the same time, we are going to have a pretty interesting game here. And that's something that Infamous, they are killers. They are murderers. That's what their lineup's kind of geared to do. They're really good at killing Roche. They're not so good at killing buildings. I think they're going to really try to run it for Zoomers here, where they're going to try to shrug them off and look for those nice and spiffy plays.
We'll see how this goes. We got ourselves, well, really a lot to work with here. You've got Costabile on a PA, always fun. Gunner Ember, you get to see techies for the first time in the patch. So, I mean, this is going to be, as you said, a pretty fun game for us to check out. We'll see. I want to see how the techies with that disarm works against the Ursa, because that could be kind of a really consistent thorn in Lumiere's side if he loses out on a couple of seconds every time the Techies jumps in onto him.
Yeah, in addition to that, just seeing how the lane plays out, whether or not Techies is just gonna completely shut out, honestly, Lumiere, because that is Grimstroke Ursa. That is a really annoying lane
Hmm.
to deal with. It's something that Moo has to be constantly scared of, because if he ever accidentally skewers the target that's Inksplode, then he's most likely just gonna die. So whether or not Z-Freak's actually able to help out its teammate, or if it's just going to be more of the old Techies where you have a Techies, so you kind of have to forfeit the lanes, I think that's the only gripe I have with Four Zoomers is whether or not they're going to be too okay with forfeiting what should be a lot of draws in these lanes.
Oh, we shall see. A lot of stuff that we have, well, not seen yet in this patch, sort of coming at us right away as these two squads get things going. Final series of the day here, and as you mentioned previously, Four Zoomers, they already
Know
got a
your
point earlier today. The
place.
1-1 split against Lava went well for them with that Game 2 victory. We'll see now
Fuzzy
how much, if
wuzzy
any,
wuzzy
of that momentum
wuzzy.
sort of carries over for them, as both sides have smoked up. These smokes don't really seem like they're going to collide. Lumiere, though, if he keeps going, could get in a little bit of trouble, but he is going to back off instead. So, not going to get caught out just yet. Now he'll see these heroes coming in, and this is very strange. There's Techies throwing out that bomb. That looks a little goofy, but there's going to be a little bit of damage coming out there, and Lumiere is going to be pushed back.
Yeah, and it's pretty expensive. He only has 3 of them before he's going to be completely out, but a 2-second immediate 25% slow, that's pretty tight. That's pretty nifty, but at the same time, I don't think you're going to see Z-Freak really have the majority of his damage coming from his spells. And early on, his spells are pretty weak, to be honest. But that's where having 47 base damage now instead of what he used to have and a Blightstone should prove to be pretty nice here. Only thing they have to be concerned of, again, is just Lumiere deciding to turn on you and then with the Inkswell just kind of dying.
Yeah, that duo is always going to be dangerous in terms of how Four Zoomers will deal with it, but it is something kind of interesting on that Four Zoomer side. Didn't really get to it in the draft itself, but you do have to take into account Moo is going to be on this Magnus, so maybe the skill build changes up a little bit, but that is still a mag with the Empower, with a couple of melee cores to round things out in the PA and the Ember Spirit. So that farming rate can be accelerated, and on the Infamous side of things, we were already sort of wondering, how is the Tiny going to scale? How much can the Mars do? If you're then having to deal with your opponents having an even faster farm rate, then those concerns get compounded a little bit. So see what their response to that is, as we have a bit of an issue here. Brief, hopefully brief, DC out from the Phantom Assassin.
Yeah, don't want Custodio to be lagging here, and we are on USEs, so really shouldn't be any problem, but that's also where you gotta kind of wonder how the Infamous supports are going to deal with the Ember Spirit this game. Of course, the really only tool they have for it is the Ancient Seal. Can't imagine that Gunner is going to let himself get soulbound very often in this game. It's one of the few spells that is relatively easy to avoid if
Is
you
your
are that
spring
spirit. It's
already?
always you getting chained to someone else. It's never
Is
you
your spring already?
kind of leading in with it. And I think that's where maybe these supports have something to fear, and that's where I think Oscar is going to be incredibly important because he is the one to start the lockdown. Him and alone, it's those chains together that are really the only way that I think Gunner's going to die in this game successfully.
Yeah, they got to be on point, otherwise that Ember's just going to kind of dance around them. So, well, we'll see if they're on point with that lockdown in this game. In the meantime, still no Costabile back in here, but does maybe give us time to talk about this top lane a little bit. You see Husky on the Undying. I mean, he can be incredibly obnoxious, especially the Mars. If he's losing out on some strength there, then things like the Stifling Daggers that under normal circumstances maybe wouldn't bother him too much might hurt that little bit more. I don't really know if that sets them up for any kill potential, but it means Oscar's not quite as intimidating in this lane as he otherwise would be.
No, definitely not. And well, with 3
Okay.
people, Reddy's going in. And yeah, Husky, he's trying to do his job right now, but it's hard. It's hard being an Undying, honestly, especially laning versus a Skywrath who doesn't really care. He has 0 armor, so the threat would obviously be just Coast to be like jumping on you whenever you have 2 or 3 decay stacks going on, but at the same time, being 25 ms slower than the 4 counterpart, it's always going to be a little bit rough, especially because, and kind of interestingly, Husky didn't start boots. It's something he sometimes will rush whenever he plays this hero. I think Dubu, one of the first players to start doing that as well, where he'll get the 4 to maybe buy a few more items in the support kind of era, and then you just start boots, and then you run around and you hit the 4, and it's great. But with what he has now, he's definitely set up to just kind of lane and give Costabili all the regen that comes out harass-wise.
Just set up your teammate as best as you
Oh,
can as Gunnar gets picked off mid alone. Makes a move. That's really only 1 point each in the Avatos, but Gunnar was not anticipating that much damage. It's only a level 1 Flame Guard to sort of absorb it, so didn't really catch it, but alone, that's a huge play. Early on here, he gets first blood, and maybe that gives him a little bit more control in this middle lane. The problem is now Gunnar's back, and alone doesn't really have much in the way of regen, but his courier is coming out to him with a bottle and a mango.
yeah, and he was only, I think, 1 away, and at the same time, that exactly what I thought would happen. Level 2 on the Phantom Assassin, they dive in, Tombstone just for insurance there. But yeah, Owen, bottom, everybody's dying everywhere.
Z-Freak's gonna get taken down. Kill goes the way of the Grimstroke, and do just want to mention, now that we have a chance to bring it up, Grimstroke tagged as Affliction, aka aka Excel. He's changed his name a couple of times now, but still the same guy picking up a kill there. And Z-Freak, I mean, it's a good plan. Try to use the blast off there, see what you can do, and it did set his teammate up for the return kill, but a little bit faster on the draw there for the Grim. He gets the kill, and now where does he want to go? He's holding on to his teammate's boot, so you would presume he's just going to TP bot, but he's waiting a little while. Maybe there's more item Lumiere wants him to grab. Yeah. Dropping the raindrops.
Yeah, and honestly, another massive change to techies is just that you can't deny yourself any further. You have to commit, you have to stay in those kills, and it might be where we see him level it up. But Husky,
He
he's
should
dead.
die. Yeah. Sladen's able to get the kill. Kostabile, though, is hoping for a little bit of a trade-off, but there's going to be the wand charges. Will it be enough? No, but now your PA, you're not in a healthy spot. Spear stun connects. Oscar doesn't have mana for a rebuke, though. If he did, this would be over, but instead, the Stifling Dagger slows, and Oscar is not going to get that kill. That is unfortunate for him, but they were able to get the kill onto Husky first, but giving any extra gold over to the PA with the kill that they traded out is a problem, and now they might go in again. Oscar, yeah, really needs to get out of there. Throws the spear to make it happen. Husky's not going to give up. He wants the decay again. He did get it, but it's level 1 decay. It's not going to be enough to kill.
And unfortunately for Husky, he used everything. So he's going to need to stack, pull, bring a lot of regen out. And unfortunately, Oscar having that salve just in his back pocket just gets to salve up, take this full wave. It's not like Costabile can really pressure him too much here and get some nice denies, especially with Sladen returning after refilling the mid bottle.
Sladen's just going to be so obnoxious here. Second point in the concussive show. So he's just going to keep on throwing that out there. Meanwhile, over in the bottom lane, Lumiere, well, you wanted to make a move there. Damage is a little split between Moo and Z-Freak, but this is that sort of combination that we were talking about coming into this. That duo, you got to be careful. If you get too far forward, you can get hit up by the Inkswell as Affliction jumped in on Z-Freak, kind of baited him in. He throws out the sticky bomb first. Affliction thinks he's okay because he survives that damage, and that just sets up for the blast off as middle lane alone. Did he do it again? Yes, he did. Got in onto Gunnar. That's 2 deaths now in the middle lane for that Ember Spirit, and well, honestly, I didn't really expect the Tiny to be able to do that multiple times in the laning stage, but he's got those kills.
Yeah, and honestly, it's where, even though he's definitely nerfed, he's definitely worse than he was before. The multipliers have changed, and oh, I'm just gonna get hit up again. But earlier on, he has only gotten better with all of the flat damage he's received. All of his spells just really hurt, and I think that's what's catching Gunnar off guard here, because he's not used to taking 500 damage from a level 1 tree toss or a level 1 tree grab, and he's certainly not used to the damage coming out from just having a flat 100 on the level 1 toss. It's just, I think, a really strong combo that, again, gets worse the later on you get, but has caught him off guard twice now. It's kind of unfortunate to see happen to him, because Alone is immediately rushing Blink, and I don't want to say he almost has it, but 1,000 gold away 6 minutes in. That is a blistering speed.
Yeah, really making solid progress towards it as he waits for the rune. It does spawn, though, on the other side of the river. Husky was able to take it away, so that's going to be some good news on the four Zoomer side, at least. They just keep that rune out of the Tiny's hands, because that would have accelerated him even further, but look at him go. Alone's going to TP top. They are pinging that out instantly, though, so they know he's here. He would need a real sneaky angle to be able to do much of anything, but now I think he realizes there's no one here to gank. Everyone is suddenly mid, so make his way over as well, and there's no vision to sort of spot him out this time, so maybe Alone could get in there, especially if Sladen could get some sort of play. Nope. He's level 3, not quite 4, doesn't have the Ancient Seal, so they might still look at this. Alone is sort of staying in position. There's going to be a silence coming in from Affliction, and that will set them up for the pickoff.
Yeah, again, just really nice plays. Another reason why the Phantom's Embrace coming in from the Grimstroke is just so devastating. And even though I believe Alone has to run all the way back to base, I can only imagine what's going to happen to Lumiere. Got techies. There you go. There's your return.
We've seen that so much from the teams over the past couple of days. Once they see a rotation elsewhere on the map, if you're not going to TP into support, you don't want to take that fight, then find the weak spot. And there it's Lumiere alone in the bottom lane. His supports could not get to him, so Four Zoomers are going to be able to keep the kill count even there at 5-5. And now Gunner's actually TPing bot, so might look for a little bit of catch up here, and he certainly needs it. You look at his net worth, it's straight terrible. That's horrible. He's about 200 or 300 ahead of his own support in Z-Freak, so they need something to get him back on track. Maybe Moo, once he has points up in the Empower, can even help him out, but for now, it has not been pretty for Gunner.
No, and they do have the Ember Mag, right? Eventually, there is going to be that combo kind of waiting in for you, but unfortunately, is Z-Freak just going to die here?
Not dead yet. Alone needs a little bit more damage, and now he needs a little bit more help. Teammates are coming up, but there's going to be the RP keeping him locked down. Alone dropping low. They still haven't finished him at this point. There's the skewer. And wait,
no.
He's cycling Dagger Affliction. No! Alone does eventually go down, but Oscar's now in for the arena. Four Zoomers, there is no way that they get away with this, but I say no way, they're walking out. That is... Oh, that is something, ET. That dagger really did need to go onto the Tiny to just take him down right away, and they almost paid for it. But now, not only do they get the kill that they wanted, now they might find even more. Oscar's going to get jumped in on in that middle lane. Gunner really wants to track him down. Not going to be able to get that kill, but they'll get something. Affliction dies, but Sladen was able to finish off Z-Freak to make it a trade. And this is now 2 or 3 instances where really a hero kind of looks dead to rights, and they just don't get picked off.
And leave it to Gunner to try and do the massive play, doing the double Remnant behind the tower and then the Remnant towards the Grimstroke, so he had an escape plan, because if he triple Remnanted Oscar would have surely died, but he would have immediately gotten traded out by the Tiny, so just very wise from him, and still went for it, right? You can't hark on him too much, but at the same time, on that initial kill on the Tiny, if he plays footsie for like a second longer and that Inkswell hits, I don't know, something would have broken in Four Zoomers there, but it's amazing that they get to kind of re-go at the end of that fight like that. But now, there are a bunch of heroes top. Everybody has dispersed a little bit. There is going to be Arena up in 5 seconds, so they don't really need to stop either, and with Lumiere up here, I think Four Zoomers might need to make the call to get out of here in a few seconds.
Scan came
Husky
through, though. Oh, somebody's here. Might not actually find anybody. Moo's TPing out. He's going to make it away.
Clean getaway. Nobody's gone.
Husky TP'd out, too. So, okay. Affliction gets a courier snipe, so there's something. But that's 4 heroes top. No kills with the scan actually pinging someone out. I guess they will get the tower, so there's going to be a little bit going Infamous's way, but now, look at this, actually. Sladen is TP'd bot, Alone's coming in as well. There's going to be the Avatos combo onto Gustavo. It wasn't enough damage for the kill, though, and now Alone, you do not want to be here. RP, gonna lock him in place. Z-Freak waiting for his moment. The blast-off is not coming out just yet. Trying to hold off on it just in case he doesn't need it, and they won't. They get Alone. They are going to be more than okay sacrificing a tier 1 tower if they could get that kill, and they might actually be able to make it a tower trade rather than just sacrificing it, because this tier 1 is not really in a healthy position, and there's no one to defend it either.
No, it's Very, very unfortunate, but at the same time, you gotta, he tried. He had his Blink Dagger, showed it off, tried to get an easy pick, but the second you're in, you're kind of stuck in. It's why they picked up the Undying, I believe, in this game, is just because it is really hard for the Tiny to actually navigate in and out of these fights until he has items from his allies like Force Staffs, Glimmer Capes. Otherwise, it really is going to be a struggle, and that's where maybe it's time to farm a little bit on Alone. Look for your next item power spike. They also need to, at the same time, look around for the PA farming, because Costabile going for that Battle Fury build slowed up just a little bit because he did finish off that Orb of Corrosion, maybe thinking the landing stage would last a little bit longer than I think it ended up lasting. But looking over at the other carry, Lumiere, I believe, has his full Diffusal Blade coming out, just immediately rushed it, so he is going to show up very early to these fights. He might even try to start Roche in a few minutes here.
Yeah, Courier bringing that out right now. So the Ursa has moved into the top spot net worth-wise, looking pretty good so far. And see, Infamous might be looking to make a move. Alone just TP'd mid. They got the Inkswell down. There's going to be the Avalanche into the toss, into the Inkswell stun, into the Spear even connecting. Mystic Flare thrown down, and Gunner takes a lot of effort, but they will find the kill. Now can they get any more? Moo has pushed in, but he does so without the RP. He still gets a nice skewer onto about 3 heroes. And Infamous, they did not show enough respect to the mag. They think without the RP, what can he really do? And they suffer pretty heavily for it. 3 dead for the kill onto Gunner. Big play out there from Moo to really not just salvage that fight, but straight up win it.
Yep, without a Blink Dagger, just a skewer, and it's saying without a Blink Dagger, he has one right now with the RP, so that's a huge timing. And OZ Freak. Oh, that's so unfortunate.
That would have been so just that's a tilting move if he stole that away and Lumiere actually couldn't get it. But well, if you're Z Freak, you have to try, right? You make the attempt, doesn't get it, but he's stacking up a little bit here. I'm not sure if that was 100% intentional, but he got the stack anyway. And well, you've got Gunner who can farm it up with the Flame Guard. You've got a PA who's still working towards the Battle Fury, but has the cleave from the Empower right now to help out. So stacking some camps early on, but now look at this. Alone wants in. Doesn't blink in time to get the Inkswell stun, and now... Oh, okay. Doubles back. They still get off the initiation. There's going to be the silence into the Spear stun, but look at Moo and Husky. They're coming in. RP's ready, so they need to try and clear out. RP is deployed only onto Affliction. That's going to get them a kill. Not sure they needed it to find that pick off, but either way, they did go in. The Grimstroke gets taken down. Meanwhile, mid, Lumiere and Sladen were trying to get damage on the tower, but they're not really going to be able to take it down. The Glyph comes out, and they will be forced to retreat. Their teammates, though, just found a kill, and now they're not retreating at all. They go right back in. Lumiere just jumps in on Gunner. They'll take him out, and now, oh, you might want to be a little bit careful here. He is taking a fair bit of damage, but teammates have arrived to try and help out, but the same is true for Infamous. Alone gets in. They go for the Avalanche into the toss, into the Spear. Sable will be finished off, and now it's Forzumer's turn to fall back. This is why that RP onto Affliction down bot feels a little bit worse. They no longer have it for that bigger fight mid.
Yeah, and really, it's kind of the repercussions felt throughout. Because of that, you don't get Oscar. Because of that, Z-Freak dies, and then mid just becomes a fight that you can no longer take. I think, unfortunately, Gunner, he just got silenced and then got his mana drained by that Diffusal Blade, so he died so quickly. And he's going for the Deso build, which he went for just the other day, but at the same time, I don't know if that's really going to be the answer versus heroes like the Tiny and the Ursa. It's definitely a little bit risky, and oh, they want Costabile. They want both.
They're gonna get at least one, and I think they might, yeah, get both. The Mystic Flare is placed very well. That PA taken down. Gunner, bless him, he tried, but not a whole lot to be done there. Double kill for Lumiere, and that farming rhythm has been disrupted. Now they get the silence onto Gunner. They might just be able to take him down here. They had 3 silences on that Ember for about a half second. As they do take him down, Lumiere, meanwhile, went after his own game. Went for Husky right outside of that jungle, and Infamous are starting to really amp up the pressure. Now they get 4 kills in about a minute, really, and Lumiere, that's enough to finish off his Blink Dagger. So you were already dealing with this Ursa getting into the fights pretty effectively. Now he'll have a Blink to close that gap even faster, and between him and Alone, both having them, the heroes who need to maintain their separation on Forzumers right now just can't do it.
Yeah, I think Infamous's lineup, they're just too tanky. They have too many tools. Four Zoomers need to find the initiation. They need to start the fight. And of course, they have the Magnus with the Blink Dagger, but that's also where Magnus is just that much harder to find those successful plays. Reverse Polarity is not a big radius. It's where the Ravage would feel much nicer for actually just sitting out in front. The other problem is that when you're looking for those initiations, there's no one out in front. The one who's presenting himself usually in these engagements is either the Ember Spirit or the Phantom Assassin, and unfortunately, they're just not tanky enough to survive versus all of this magic damage. And of course, once we talk about BKBs, then maybe the script flips a little bit, but Costabile is still working on his Battle Fury. A Battle Fury while he's empowered as well, and this is just not a good timing. Nothing is really feeling too great, and while the gold lead is teetering on 1K, it's just the control and the levels now at this point. Kills are even pretty much even at this point, but Infamous has just got them so much later in the game. You definitely feel like their supports and their cores are just a little bit further ahead.
Mhm. Yeah, net worth wise, it's not massive. Kill wise, it's not massive. But in terms of momentum, feels like Infamous have a lineup that is able to take advantage of what they have right now to a far greater extent. And as you said, that PA, you got to get it. You got to get the Battle Fury. That's really the only step in the plan right now, because your PA is not fighting at this point in time. If you go in, you're not going to have the durability. You're not really going to have the damage either, unless you're looking for maybe a snipe onto one of the supports. But that means if you're four Zoomers, your options in terms of taking fights right now are extremely limited, in a position where Infamous are just going to keep pushing forward if you can't force fights.
Yeah, and okay.
Okay.
Game getting back underway here, and really the one thing that four Zoomers can count on when it comes to, I guess, having a little bit more time to play around with is there is an Ursa carry in this game. He is not going to hit buildings very quickly. The hero's just not good at it, so that's one thing that they can be rest assured about. But at the same time, if they're going to adopt the split push style where they just need to split and they need to farm within power for another 15 minutes, they need to kind of cease. They need to, I don't know, maybe even kill Husky a few times, use him as the living ward, just so that way we can farm some of the further reaches of the map right now, because at the very least, it feels like Infamous, even though they are staying as kind of a five-man unit, they aren't really losing anything by doing so. They're farming very efficiently on half of the map, and for Zoomers, their item timing, it's not this item timing, it's going to be the items after the BKB, after the Battle Fury, which will let them kind of fight here. But we're running into a damage problem, and a damage problem that you could say Techies fixes, but that is relying on your opponents and Mu, I guess, making the plays. And once he has Horn Toss, the skewer play definitely gets easier, but that's also where seeing Infamous breach into Techies territory is also going to be kind of new ground here, seeing if they're actually able to do it or if it's much harder than we expected. Oh my goodness, Lumiere.
Really didn't take too much damage from that, all things considered, but he also had a haste rune to make sure he could get out. But Moogie jumped in. He's got the blink into the RP. He needs the skewer back right now. They're not going to be able to get it, though. But Lumiere's still relatively low on health. But look at the damage. He just pushes right back in. Moo is dead. Gunner is silenced. He'll be falling here as well in just 1 second as they lock him down. Good idea from the mag, but they needed to be able to pull Lumiere away after that lockdown. Without it, you really kind of just initiated for Infamous.
Yeah, and really, they have fantastic vision right now in four Zoomers. They spent that time that Infamous spent killing the bottom tower so well, getting this vision down, and then the fight just drags just barely away into the dark, and then I feel like they lose pretty much because of that. Now Z-Freak, he's got the disarm. He's obnoxious. He's annoying. The reactive taser, but at the same time, is it going to be enough? Because I just watched a Techie set up for about 2 minutes there, and then a hasted Ursa run through and kill all of his mine. Okay, Moo's got a free kill though on Sladen.
Sladen, almost certainly dead, and Gunner's the one to get it. That is going to be big. Gunner just getting his first kill of the game, now going to look for his second, jumping onto Affliction, and he does get it. So prior to that, the Ember was 0 and 7. So he needed something to really just kickstart the build for the Ember Spirit. A double kill at that point is not quite going to get him his BKB, but the progress is really accelerated now, and maybe that's the key. If Gunner gets a BKB and is maybe less afraid of getting punished if he jumps into the fight, then you don't have Alone in a situation where you can just sort of shut down that opposing hero, and you now don't have to worry about the 2 or 3 silences on the Infamous side.
And really, now that BKB doesn't feel too far off for Gunnar. It feels like he's going to have it most likely for this next Roche fight, as can only imagine that this game is going to be brought towards their next. I think Lumiere as well, feeling like he might not have the most lockdown behind him, looking for the basher, just making sure that he can actually just straight up solo kill a lot of these heroes. And I like this to smoke up. Maybe you would have wanted Oscar in it, but with him showing in the mid lane, honestly, 4Zoomers should feel pretty safe to show everywhere else. But just look at them. Just sitting on the high ground. They're playing around the cliff. The one mistake Infamous can make right now is going near this cliffside. And I think that's why we're seeing them go towards the edge of the map. And if they find Custabile down here, this would be huge.
Oh boy, they're hunting. Oh my god, he just blinked right on top of him. Okay, Alone just takes a wild stab at it, I guess. And, well, that is pretty much the worst case scenario for your PA. Trying to hide, blind blink gets you in trouble, and now what does the rest of 4Zoomers look to do here? Because, yeah, they need to avoid this. Alone's going to jump in looking for the kill. Horn toss from Moose. Sets up, though, for the skewer. Gunner's here as well, but they don't have the damage for this. Now comes the double silence. Oscar's trying to get in position. He has the arena, even if he doesn't have the spear. Just trying to keep them locked in place, but there's going to be the RP. Moo coming in, trying to turn the fight, but Alone throws out the avalanche. It's going to disrupt that combo. Moo's the one to fall. Gunner running out of time on the BKB. Has to be careful as he will jump away. But as he jumps away, he leaves his teammates in the middle of the fight. Husky gets taken down. The tombstone will be cleaned up. 4Zoomers. Oh, they might not be done losing. Yeah, Gunner is in some trouble. Alone's going to get off the toss. Lumiere comes in for the right clicks, and Husky, that is the most maybe ambitious buyback I think I've seen so far. That was not going to be in time to do much of anything, so Dying sort of throws a little bit of extra money onto the pile, and now Infamous, they've really just kind of broken this open. We said momentum was on their side. Now, kill count and the net worth really going their way as well, and Roshan up in 2. Someone stick around to spot it? No. Unfortunate.
And really, it's kind of funny because with previous techies, you needed a dedicated remote mine person. You needed someone to clear out, walk through, do whatever you can. The problem is that all these melee carries are fantastic, and they're just running through with a billion attacks. We just killing the proximity mines before you even get to feel them. And I think it's just so sad seeing 4Zoomers stay up here for all of 5 minutes just to get their base kind of completely crushed. It doesn't feel like it's working out right now. It feels like the techies is definitely struggling. I like that he's going for the Ag Shard now. Gonna give him a stun. Gonna give him something to play with, especially if he can blast off, stay around in the fight, get the taser disarm effect on maybe the Ursa or the Tiny whenever they go in. But with all of that control given back over to Infamous, 4Zoomers need to set up shop near a new cliff, and this just gives the Roche pretty much for free. And now Lumiere is going to be able to run at you yet again, pretty much carefree.
And Lumiere already picked up his shard, though, so the shard from Roche have to go to someone else. And also the Aegis. Boys, thank you. Do not leave that Aegis in the pit. If there is one thing in this game that really amps up my anxiety, it's an Aegis on the floor. But Lumiere grabs it. Sladen was the one to take that shard, so he's got himself one of the kind of weirdest shard abilities. You get temporary int and armor every time you cast. I don't know. It's certainly interesting, and it does buff up his damage over the long run if he actually just continuously throws those abilities out, but I don't know. Did everyone else actually have their shard? Mars has it, Grimstroke has... Yeah, okay, yeah, that... Never mind then. I thought it was weird that they were going for that over anyone else, but the reason why they give him the shard is because every other member of the team had theirs already.
Yeah, and really, now, I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for 4Zoomers to hit their stride here. They've got a BKB on Crystal Beam right now. Ooh, had the BKB it.
Not ideal BKB use, but it beats the alternative. He's going to be taken down there, dead to rights if he doesn't pop it, but... Well, we talked about the BKB potentially being a game changer for Gunnar. To this point, not quite, right? I mean, he's used it a couple of times, and yeah, okay, cool. It's kept him alive for a little bit longer, but that extra durability has not been enough to really swing anything 4Zoomers' way in the long term.
No, and really, we're seeing them kind of be forced to go for this creep cut, just trying to slow down their opponents as much as they can. Zephyr trying to cut the mid creep wave, but one creep surviving is going to mean that their tier 2 gets traded out here pretty soon. Oh, or maybe they decide to take it low and slow. Either way, the kind of the beginning of the end here for Zoomers is once Lumiere has this MKB, then Kostabile doesn't get to play his kind of inherent advantage of just being a Phantom Assassin. And that's where we could very well likely see this game start to get really, really short. Because even though they might have to work tooth and nail for these towers, if they just kill the heroes behind it, there's really not much of a defense you could put up. Especially because looking at the items they've got queued, the Tiny's looking for his BKB, then he's not going to really have an issue with anyone in this game. At the same time, Oscar, he's doing just Mars things, looking for the refresher, and once he has it, I mean, we've seen what Mars Refresher can do. Just stun a hero for 7 seconds. No one on 4 Zoomers even needs to be stunned for 7 seconds to die, but it just means that someone is super dead, especially if they catch the Ember Spirit in such circumstances. That's why they smoke up. They're looking for something, especially if they can find a play on the rune here, but this infamous ward, can he react? Well, they need to RP him. They can't do it. They can't do it. Not the target.
Immediately having to back themselves off. They still have a little high ground spot here where they could try to do something, but Infamous aren't going to run right at them, at least not there. They run at them on the low ground. His gunner does get hit up. He's able to fall back. Z-Freak comes in. Now they get the RP. They're going to pull Oscar away, just hoping for one quick kill. They do manage to get it. I think that's probably the better play. If you go all in for that, it's going to go poorly. And yeah, Lumiere doesn't want to give them that option. He wants to keep the fight going. Alone now comes in looking for the Avalanche. They will take down Moo, but Gunnar and Kostabile were able to fall back. Now, Lumiere, I mean, he would love to use his Aegis right now. He is trying to sort of bait into another... Whoa, okay. Into another one as Alone tosses his teammate mid-death, so Lumiere kind of ragdolls a bit, but that got them what they wanted. You bait in for Zoomers. Gunnar can't get himself out. And I mean, that was just the Aegis. That's exactly what you wanted to give up there. So, Oscar for 2... Can Infamous, though, can they really do anything off the back of this? There's a tier 2 bot that they would have to push up towards, and I don't think you're quite confident enough to go high ground right now, so it may just be a farming play for them, but now they're starting to take more control of the map.
Yeah, and really, I felt it there a little bit, just seeing the proximity mines go off, but the problem is it's physical damage, and not just physical damage, it's reduced physical damage depending on how far in the center you actually are. So watching Alone take 50 damage from a level 2 proximity mine. Hero's really not living up to the hype, I think, right now. I think he's really struggling to kind of find his footing here. And the whole idea...
That's a problem.
Oh, no.
Has to be able to get away. Okay, Lumiere. Okay. No way to cancel that TP, so there's your bailout. Phantom Assassin able to fall back, and you keep him farming for now, I suppose. Just keep on building up towards some sort of power spike. Really the only play that they seem to have right now, outside of Moo, you know, hitting a 4 or 5 man RP.
Yeah, and it feels like that's what they might be playing for.
They're going to jump in. They're looking to take out Z-Freak first. They get that first kill. Now they can focus on the PA, whose BKB is only down to about a second or two left. Slayton does get blown up by the mines, so there is a kill for Z-Freak, and now they want to go into Oscar, but Lumiere's joining the fight. He's going to take out the Tombstone first, but the Searing Chain's actually rooting him in place. Just slowing up that damage a little bit, but now... what more can they do? Stifling Dagger comes in. They'll kill off Oscar. That's nice, but these are kills around the edges. They needed that play right there. Moo in with the RP, into the Horn Toss, into the Skewer. There's going to be the damage. Kostabile coming in to clean things up. Lumiere taken down. Alone will now fall as well, and... well, they desperately needed that one, ET, but they got it. 4 Zoomers with a very decisive teamfight win. They do need a couple of buybacks in the process, but you needed that fight.
Yeah. Z-Freak dies twice. I think really Infamous, they rush themselves there. They go into an area unknown to them, trying to find a pickoff. They even stick around post-BKB, and at first the RP didn't look that impressive just because, of course, you have the Aghanim Scepter finished on the Ursa, so he just ulted it off. But then, once the Enrage ends, Kostabile starts to actually do some damage to you, and suddenly your Ursa is just dead. And without a BKB, Slayton, he does so much damage.
Wow.
But still dead.
I forced out the BKB. It's on the lowest duration for your PA, but that is a little bit scary. Skywrath is really not supposed to be able to do quite that much damage, but does the But does it stack up? So if you use the Ags and you get the double cast, that means that the Shard is giving you the double bonuses, so that
It's
explains why he
quite
hit so
powerful.
damn hard. Wow.
Yeah.
Nope.
Well,
Husky, speaking of getting hit hard, that's a bit of an unfortunate one. Oscar gets in. That is the arena down for Undying, so you at least have a little bit of room to breathe knowing that that's not available for now, but Four Zoomers do still have to sort of fall back, and Oscar actually changing things up a little bit here, looking for the Eon Disc. Little defensive itemization perhaps for him, and it does kind of make sense. We saw in that last fight, he got taken down not instantly, but maybe faster than he was anticipating, and once the Mars is off the front line, there's a lot less Four Zoomers have to worry about in terms of extra control being thrown against them.
yeah, and really, you see the bloodlust in Infamous, right? They just immediately run back, knowing Costa Bile, you know, BKB, go back under the tier 3s. You don't get to farm. We want to force you continuously back onto your own base, but at the same time, Infamous need to start finding the initiation again. They've really put the ball in Zoomer's court. They've kind of eased back a little bit, I think, with finding those very clean jumps and really getting, again, the map control before they find the jumps, which is most importantly, because during that previous fight, even, to wind back the clock, the supports pretty much lost all of their HP actually to the proximity mines. And as much as I think the proximity mines are horrible versus carries now, versus supports, they don't have an option. They don't have a good option. They don't even get to see the mines until they're right on top of it. So I think really Infamous need to clear it out. They actually need to be kind of cautious here because one more fight like that, the stakes are Roche, the stakes are Costa Bile getting another item here. And we've already seen with the way that everyone has itemized on the Infamous side, there's no AC, there's no additional armor, there's no Lotus Orbs, so everyone can very, very easily die to this Phantom Assassin. Until we see a Satanic on Lumiere, I can imagine he's also very susceptible with that post-fight jump that PAs go for.
See Lumiere, now that he's finished off the MKB, he's not quite looking for the Satanic. He wants the Basher, presumably into the Abyssal Blade instead, so it is going to give him more in the way of offensive firepower, but you don't have much of a fallback other than just pop ult and hope you're okay if he does get caught out. But they're looking to be the ones doing the initiating. They do hit that mine, though, so that's going to give a little bit of an early alarm. But Husky, he's still going to get jumped in on. Lumiere quickly in there. Sladen's the one to get the kill, but now what can they do? Husky's going to buy back immediately. They're going to try to get onto the Ursa. They break him with the Fan of Knives, and okay, that's Lumiere dead. He does not have buyback right now, so he's dead for 80 seconds. Meanwhile, to the north, they did get the RP on 2 alone, but that was more so that Moo could kind of just back off, as right now they're trying to kite the Tiny, trying to make sure that the rest of Infamous are pushed back far enough where they can't help, but Oscar sees an opening, jumps in, gets the spear, and
no.
Sladen picks up both of those kills. Husky and Costabile went down, so I understand what Four Zoomers are trying to do, keep Alone isolated, but the problem is that the other half of the lineup just turned around once they realized they had a numbers advantage.
Yeah, and now Alone's fine. And I would say he's saved. The numbers have come. The reinforcements are back. And what a spear from Oscar, hitting both of them like that. But at the same time, I feel like Ghost of Bile could have just turned around. They could have just left the fight. The Grimstroke was already dead. Getting caught by that arena was a massive mistake. And now, of course, both carries dead while Roche is about to respawn. You know, we'll have to wait for the Ursa to respawn before we see another shift here. But how Four Zoomers defend their territory right now, that's the big question. They don't have the outpost. They would love to get it back, but I don't think they can venture too close because they're too susceptible to the Skywrath Mage silence, and they could just get bursted. And I think we might see them swap up the map just a little bit, trying to push in those side lanes, get some creep pressure on Infamous. But as soon as the Ursa's up, I can only imagine Lumiere's going to look for that third Roche, and it's an Ags. I'm guessing we're going to see probably the Dark Portrait from A. I feel like that's probably the best one, especially if you can get it down onto the PA. Then suddenly the fight looks really difficult because we haven't really felt, I think, the Grimstroke's power just yet. We felt him a little bit with the Phantom's Embrace with the Ink Spell early on, but with that Dark Portrait, suddenly I think everything changes. And let's see, who's he got? Yep, there we go. Dark Portrait online. Now you got a big problem to deal with if you're Four Zoomers.
Yeah, Four Zoomers, I don't know how they take this next fight. There's so many things that they need to be worried about, and their BKBs are really down to baseline duration, so the timing has to be so perfect, and no matter when you activate the BKB, if Infamous just really choose to be patient, they're going to be able to wait it out. So Four Zoomers got to do something. I think they need to find honestly some sort of pickoff before these fights break out. Otherwise, in a straight 5v5, really just feels like they lose, as we do have eyes on Lumiere. This is an Aegis Ursa, though, so even if you do get onto him once, yeah, you have to kill him off a second time, and Moo says, no thanks. Don't really want to deal with that. TP's out immediately, and they'll look to regroup elsewhere.
And look at that. Costa is buying an Orchid. Because of course he is. And it is a really smart choice, especially seeing that both Sladen and Lumiere don't have any way to purge it off of themselves. Really good versus... Oh, Husky.
Oh, Husky down. Used his buyback in the previous fight, so he is dead for 45 with no way back in. Alone had to pop a BKB there, so that's going to be on cooldown for a little while, but I don't really think that's enough for Four Zoomers to feel like they want to go in, but did buy time for that Orchid to be completed on your PA, so you've at least got that going for you. Costabile is going to look now for the Nullifier, so really, he is going all in, kind of on the damage. The BKB is really the only thing he has to defend himself with here, and in the meantime, did Z-Freak buy? Yes, he did. He got himself an Aghanim Scepter, so now the Taser can be thrown out onto someone like Moo, someone like Costabile, heroes that you would love to have jump in and the second Infamous try to hit them. And you get that disarm. Gunnar would, yeah, very much like that disarm right now as Lumiere sort of beats him up a little bit, but your Ember Spirit's able to get away. But that might be an actual game-changing play, T. If the Taser comes out and Infamous aren't preemptively popping their BKBs, suddenly get disarmed for a little bit. Maybe Four Zoomers have a way into the fight that way.
Very well could be. And Costabile took half of his HP there alone. Doesn't do the most damage, especially because didn't even hit him that many times. He doesn't have an MKB yet of his own, even though you could see him go for it. But really, I think the biggest concern is that Infamous is a fantastic team with these luxury items. A is sitting on 3,000 gold right now. It's the type of game where you suddenly get a Hex on that hero, and then, well, there's your initiation right there. You just soulbind Hex, and you take what you can get, and you're trying to get Ursa for free. Okay.
Nice and easy first life down. How can they do the second, though? Because here comes Oscar. Really wants to initiate here. He's going to hold his fire on the arena, though, and that was probably really the right call to make. Four Zoomers do a good job of just sort of splitting up, and I don't know if Oscar would have been able to hit really more than one with that arena, but the problem with that is, okay, cool, you held your fire, you don't waste your ult, that's neat, but Aegis is gone, and Four Zoomers, I mean, what did they commit? They didn't use any major ults, they just got an easy kill and backed off.
You know, that was very patient from Infamous, though. If they, again, went towards that cliff, I think the fight looks really messy, looks really ugly for them, but they're being patient, they're not getting kind of kited back again, because they know what the stakes are. If they die at this stage of the game, they're dead for probably 100 seconds. That's Four Zoomers taking their next tier 2 towers, and then suddenly the game is 50-50. And I think right now, Infamous, they want to hold on to whatever lead they have right now. And very fortunately for Lumiere, actually picked up the Stormcrafter, so no longer that kind of smack you in the face play with the Orchid is going to work, and Costabile's plans are thwarted a little bit. But at the same time, well, your tower's getting hit by Alone, and someone's got to come. It's got the Penta Edge as well, so got the long attack range.
And Moo did TP in there, and they pop the Glyph as well. How do they want to do this? Gunnar, not in the base right now, but he can get back fairly quickly. As...
Cool.
Okay, well, he's skewered. That was only an illusion that he would have been able to hit. Didn't really connect anyway, so Alone continues the siege, hitting up the tower, takes that down. Gunnar now, though, going in to get the root. The BKB is going to come through, and Alone is just going to walk away. But if you're Four Zoomers, you held your racks. That's got to count for something. Infamous don't feel like sticking around much longer, so at least for now, they survived that siege.
Yeah, after they do these 2 waves, they could decide to smoke. That could be very likely what we see here, and okay, they're going to go for it. Gunnar's going to stay back, do the waves. Doesn't have Ags, so he doesn't have to work for his initiation here, but this is smart. This is on paper Dota. As soon as your opponent uses a BKB, smoke and try to look for him in his own jungle, and that's what they're doing with this cross-map play, but is it going to land is the real question here, and are they going to want it to land in the Radiant Triangle? I think if they dive a little bit too low, all they can get is a tier 2. Oh, Alone. Didn't show on this creep wave, but just barely there.
Moo, okay. Gonna go in for the kill onto Affliction early, but they don't actually get it. Oscar now comes in. He's actually rooted, but he still has the arena. But there's gonna be the RP coming out. Mu trying to keep his teammates in this. They are looking for something to turn the tides, but look at that Ursa. He's just going to work. They'll take down Z-Freak. Lumiere, though, is eventually gonna be finished off, and maybe Four Zoomers can do this. Costabile is starting to lose some HP, but Gunner still has the DD rune, but that's a problem. Oscar in with the second arena after popping that refresher orb, and
oh my goodness.
now they want to back themselves out of here. It was looking pretty good until they allowed Oscar to get that second ult in there, and now they've got to play it safe.
Oh,
God,
it's the
Slayton.
Techie's dive. It's the Techie's dive. You kill all their heroes and then you die to mines. But Alone bought back. He's here for buildings.
He's here.
If anything, it's and something that Gunner is going to have to probably deal with, but also cannot afford to give up his life right now. I think Slayton, yeah, TP'd back to base, but man, post BKBs, even though they do get some nice kills there, and the reason Alone dies again is because they have that very well-timed smoke. He didn't have a BKB to kite out the PA's daggers. Still die to the Skyreth Mage because BKBs are so low cooldown at this point, and Slayton is doing so much damage. They just need to be stunned for a second, and then they are just immediately dead to him.
Yeah, you take a look at the stat line for Slayton, 8, 6, and 14. That's not incidental, you know, Mystic Flare sniping out the last bit of damage. He is hitting almost as hard as some of these cores in these scenarios. So Four Zoomers do have to be very careful about that. You can't just sort of write off the Skywrath Mage. But speaking of damage, Gunner, he was able to get himself up a Daedalus, so it is honestly a little bit surprising between the Ember and the PA just how offensively oriented they are being. But you saw in that last fight, if they can get in there, if they're not hit by that immediate lockdown, then having that much damage means that they just sort of tore through some of those heroes. Lumiere in particular, once the Enrage wore off, he really just kind of melted.
Yeah, and it's almost a symptom of his item build. You see him turning around for the BKB now, where he's just not tanky enough in his own Enrage. Even though he's got the 80% damage reduction, it's the few seconds where he's not in that damage reduction where he actually can die, and he doesn't have that much HP to work with, and the only lifesteal he has is coming from that Morbid Mask. So he is honestly a very easy target. It's much harder to kill Oscar, for instance, on the same team, who has the A on disc, who has a little bit more defensive capacity. And I think that's where, for Zoomers, they're really riding the line here. And, well, now Ag Scepter on Z-Freak, new Ag Scepter, Reactive Taser can be cast on allies. And honestly, kind of sick, because now whoever you send in, he's got the buff, he's got the movement bonus. It turns almost you into this Disruptor buffed hero. But yeah, Scan landed in a 4-man smoke.
But look at this. Husky's just standing here. They've got the ward. So he's going to be able to pop this quickly.
Oh,
they know what's coming now. Lumiere, he's still going in. He doesn't care. Just straight in onto Husky, Undying, immediately buying back. Lu, meanwhile, gets the RP. That's going to lock down the Tiny, but where's the damage? Gunner's actually going after Affliction right now. They're trying to take down the supports, but they're not able to actually get anyone just yet. Now the fight gets complicated. Oscar waiting, looking for that second arena. He's going to throw it down now. Gets the spear stun that locks Gostabile in place.
No.
They take him out. They take down Mu, and they're just going to clean house. Z-Freak and Husky dead. Gunner, I don't know if you want to be here anymore. Yeah, you don't really have much of a choice. Has to blink himself away, but that's the problem. If you want to go after those support kills early on, that is fine. By all means, get the Dark Portrait out of there, Soulbind, get it away, but if you're going for that kill, ET, they have to get it, and they have to get it immediately. They spend so long chasing it that they really just open the door to a fight that they get really destroyed in, but Alone, okay. They'll be taken down, but Lumiere's still there to clean up.
Yep, and even though they do get the dieback on Alone, well, this is a freebie. This is where, okay, Gunner buys back. He can definitely chip down Lumiere even further, and it honestly might be enough to defend the racks, but now the win condition kind of very easily presents itself here. Slayton can't stick around either. He needs to get mana, but at the same time, that jump over here is super unfortunate, and Gunner, he's keeping in. Wait a second.
Where's his backup?
He
He has no backup. This is so dangerous. He's gonna try to jump away.
You know, he's entertaining.
I mean, that's a great play from Gunner to get himself out, but I'm not entirely sure what he would have gotten there that would have been worth taking that risk, because he's maybe a second or two away from actually getting taken down.
He almost pulled an EE, to be honest. That was tantamount to diving underneath tier 4s and then dying and then question marking. Like, I don't know. That was super bizarre. And at the same time, now you don't have him to scout the Roche. So this is going to be everything. And I wonder who they're going to give the refresher shard to, because my goodness, they have some toys to play with now. They might even give the ag synth over to the Ursa just so he can sell his own ags and get another item. Or I think he actually bought an ag synth for himself, so now he's just got a pocket Aghanim's Blessing that I suppose he could give over to the Tiny, even though Alone has not built himself up for that build at all. Everybody's inventories are incredibly messy right now. Everybody has 9, 12 items. It's pretty gross, but that's the stage of the game we're in. We're 15 minutes away from 60 minutes, yet it feels so late game because everyone has so much farm.
Yeah, there's just items everywhere right now. So Lumiere was the one to take the Aegis. They put the cheese into the hands of the Mars. That's just an Ag's Blessing sitting there menacingly. I don't know. I assume Alone is going to be the one to come and pick that up. Yeah, there he comes. So he's got it. Tree Volley's there. I mean, not really an Ag's upgrade that you prioritize much, but considering everyone else already had theirs, there's really no downside to it. So more damage, that definitely helps out in terms of trying to siege up this high ground again too, because for Zoomers, you have to be so far back. That tree volley, it's gonna hurt.
Yeah, and I think the siege is still going to be really hard. It's very difficult to approach now, especially because Costabile is 25. He's got the triple daggers. It's very obnoxious to actually get up to the base, especially with Mu constantly looking for those skewer backs. But at the same time, you got the Hex on A. Anything could be a jump. If you misstep just for a moment there, Mu goes down before getting his BKB off. Every single initiation needs to be put under such scrutiny at this point that it could just be the game. And 36k net worth up. I mean, we talked about before, Infamous is a team of luxury, and looking at it, especially the quick buy on Oscar, that's what they're playing for right now. They could look for every item in the world and just continuously scale. Oh, double smoke.
Okay. The scan actually hit from 4 Zoomers, so they know that there's someone in there. Now that smoke will pop. This is the kill that they tried to get the last time around. They get it much more quickly this time, which means they can now turn their attention onto Alone. He's already down to half HP. He is holding onto a cheese, though, so they might want to be a little bit careful as Gunner's now going to get silenced up, able to use that Stormcrafter, though, to get out, and they actually whiff on the arena. This may be the opening. Mu comes in. The RP connects onto 3 into the Horn Toss. They need more damage, and they've got it. Alone going to get taken down. No buyback available on that Tiny, and maybe 4 Zoomers have found their moment. Mu blinks in again. Skewer onto the Skywrath. Sladen will fall. And this is getting into disaster territory. Lumiere, he's going to pop the BKB, trying to get up onto Husky. They'll find the kill, but that means Costabile is free to jump in and start dishing out the damage. They burn through the Aegis. Can they get any more, though? Lumiere's back into the fight, popping the Enrage, immediately turns onto the PA, who will buy back after the death. And now, if you're 4 Zoomers, you might be getting a little bit spread out. Mu will fall, but they do get Oscar. Now Lumiere's going to have to TP home. He doesn't make it! Gunner gets in for the last bit of damage. I think that might have been a crit as well. And ET, I think Infamous may have just kind of thrown a little bit. That's 7,000 net worth to 4 Zoomers for that fight.
No, and a whole bunch of time, and you saw them ping the bottom creep wave saying, yo, you gotta push this out, Sladen. You gotta get there right now. But that's a whole bunch of buybacks, and what a nice little play from 4 Zoomers. Infamous were not ready for 4 heroes to be in this tree line. They did not expect that to be the initiation, and then having the ward sentry set up, they kill A so fast, and with that, there's no Hex, there's no Soulbind, there's no Inkswell. You don't get to play around the edge of the fight, and even though you kind of get cleaned up by Sladen yet again post BKB, with Costabile's buyback, time is bought. There is now so much farming, even more net worth going into the hands of the 4 Zoomers, as well as, I think, Infamous. They're a little bit scared here. They don't have buybacks on a bunch of their heroes. Alone is going to be coming up soon. The biggest benefit for that fight for Infamous closing out this game is that they do have the easy win. If they kill Costabile, it's over. That's most likely the game. But if they kind of flub up one more time, I very realistically could see both of these teams being too scared to make that Hail Mary play. We might see just a full reset across the board, which is exactly what Four Zoomers want. Four Zoomers want this game to continuously go on because the deficit, it's shrinking. And Gunner specifically picked up his Swift Blink. He does so much damage, and we saw it there. He's got 25 as well. He's almost level 30, in fact. He just does so much for his team right now. And with the Battle Fury as well, it's the same build he did before. It's getting more and more difficult to approach Four Zoomers, and Infamous can't stick around in these fights any longer.
Their durability really is starting to come into question a little bit, and as you said, if you kill Costabile, then okay, you're in a good spot, and you look at that and you say, well, they killed him off in the last fight, so maybe they can do it again, but you also have to take into account they killed him off in the last fight because they had an Aegis that they used, they had Cheese that they used, they had the double up play from Skywrath Mages. I think he was the one to have the shard, and then they also used the refresher orb on the Mars, and they still lost all of that. And this time around, they're only going to have, what, half of those resources? Refresher orb is back up, but no Cheese, no Aegis, and no sort of double play from Sladen, but...
The cliff we die on.
Oh, he didn't get it! He misses with the spear stun. They're still in onto Husky, though, so they'll take him down quickly. No buyback on that Undying. Z-Freak is dropping low as well. Never mind, Undying does go for the buyback now. Z-Freak going to spend his as well. So they're immediately rejoining their teammates, trying to TP in. The question is, where did they really go? They were able to take down Sladen on the back line first. Now they can focus in on more as Moo gets the RP, cancels the TP. Lumiere's in trouble. Lumiere's dead. And Infamous, that was good initially. You get in, you get the support kills, fantastic. That's your do or die moment. Do you now back off or do you keep going? They keep going, and worse than that, they keep going and then also split up. Sladen got caught out in the river, as actually his gem is still on the floor. So if you're going to keep pushing forward, okay, I mean, I can understand that, but you need to do so as a team. Instead, they split, and Four Zoomers just pounce all over them.
This is really rough because now, of course, you have buyback on Lumiere. He went for that play thinking he was probably going to be fine and just trading his BKB for his life, but even now, Four Zoomers are playing so cautious. Only with 2 heroes alive, Costabile is kind of letting the cards do it, and okay. Oh, no, no, no.
Good spear stun, they get the Avatos. Costabile is low, but he's able to jump to a teammate. Getting himself out of there for now. Alone, look at him, he wants to keep going. They're going to toss Lumiere forward, but no, okay, not enough. And now Lumiere, I don't know about this. It's a very far push. Moo is going to push him back with a skewer, but now the rest of Infamous, they want to go forward. They're looking for the kill. They got Costabile, they got Moo as well. And this is turning into a terrible fight for Four Zoomers. They've got to back off. There's no buyback on that PA, so everyone else has to get away cleanly. It looks like they're going to get most of their heroes out. Moo was taken down earlier, obviously, but Gunner and the supports will make their escape. Now, 100 seconds, no PA. Not sure if they can hold this, but on the other side of things, as you mentioned, Infamous, do they feel strong enough to now just push this? I think they should know the PA doesn't have her buyback, as Lumiere just barrels his way through the mines, but is that enough? Because Gunner has really stepped it up, and Gunner's got enough money. He could just buy himself a rapier right now. I don't know if they want to push
it's Gunner versus the world. He's got to do everything in his power to keep these lanes out, but I also think with the poke coming in from the techies, it's so obnoxious to actually get these buildings in. Okay, they want the megas. That's what they're positioning for right now. The Blitz is going to come through. Gunner's going to try and kill their creep waves, kill A if he's lucky, but Gunner, yeah, can't stick around BKB. He knows he's going to get hexed up, but he's got to play with his own buyback. I would love to see him buy a rapier, but I think they're going to trade it out instead. Because this is Doomsday. They can, honestly, not survive this if they do fall down here, as well as if they lose Z-Freak. I honestly think that could just be the game. Backdoor does kick in, and the poke is coming through. And, oh, he BKBs it. Oh!
He's still taking a lot of damage. Look at that spear! Hex out, spear out, Gunner dead, buys back immediately though. They'll rejoin the fight. They take down Alone. He needs to be able to get onto Oscar as well, but Moo's going to be the one to do that job, getting in with the RP, but the skewer can't come out because the BKB was still active. Now they'll get it, pushing Oscar back, who refreshes his ult in time to throw it out. He will still die, but look at these heroes just trapped up inside. They're going to lose two, including Gunner, and that might be it. Gunner's dead, Moo's dead as well. He'll buy back, but they need the PA. 5 seconds, but can they do this? And I'm not sure they can. Affliction with the Dark Portrait, you see it's actually still alive. The illusion he had of the Ember, that was massive. That just helps turn the fight. They get so much extra damage inside of Oscar's ult, and words are escaping me. I think they need a miracle at this point for four Zoomers. Costable has to do something incredible to pull this one back.
And Oscar, he still needs to find the jump. They still can't really approach these tier 4s too easily, but I honestly think the game might just be over here. They already used Split. If they get these towers too low, the game will just end, and that's why Moo is looking for a horn toss. They need to split up Infamous some now. They need to separate them, but the poke's not coming through. The Ancient's exposed. They're looking for the supports.
Okay. He did get two. They need to be able to take him down quickly, though, and they aren't doing so. Meanwhile, the Ancient, it's gone. Alone and Oscar say, no,
Yep.
Forget the fight.
Over.
We take the objective. We win the game. And that is going to be it. What a wild game to open the series for Zoomers. I mean, for a while there, ET, I mean, I was buying it. They were doing it, but as you mentioned previously, they knew the win condition, right? Get Costabile, get Gunner without the buybacks. We can just close out the game, and that's exactly what they do.
Yeah, and really at the end there, it was like Z-Frig versus Sladen. It's like after BKBs, who's the most effective? And it felt like the Sladen effect at the end there, where Gunner, he doesn't get BKB, he gets clipped by a spear, he barely dies, and everyone else is dead. It was only A and Sladen there to clean up both Moo and Z-Freak at the end, but it's just the continuous silences, the not having Lotus Orbs, natural purges, just being so reliant on your BKB, and that's why they lost. That's why the game kind of ended so abruptly, is just because you got silenced after BKB, you got hexed without seeing it coming, and then it just ends in such a dramatic fashion there. And for so long, I felt like Infamous could not take a fight, but it's where four Zoomers don't find the initiation. It became a game about initiations, as so many Dota games do become, where four Zoomers, they don't find the supports first, they're able to hide back, they're able to really let Oscar alone and Lumiere take all of the damage in the entire world, and then they don't find the pick, then they kind of win. And they pushed their advantage. They knew they had 5-6 buybacks to throw at four Zoomers, while four Zoomers had a dead back PA, and that's exactly what they pushed for and win because of it.
Yeah, you look at the graphs here, never a moment where four Zoomers had actually swung back to even, but you look at the sort of jagged lines out there, I mean, they had so many moments where you're thinking, you know, just a little bit more, or if they can do that again in terms of those teamfight wins, maybe, but, well, eventually they do run out of steam. Infamous just play the waiting game, right? And, yeah. They take the win. Certainly had to work for it, though. This was no easy victory for them, but they secure the win here in game number 1. And, well, now you got to wonder what game 2 has in store. This was sort of the fun one, right, in terms of the matches. We got a techies thrown out there, all sorts of stuff. The question now, if you're four Zoomers, do you shift away from that now? Do they maybe go back to more conventional wisdom after the techies really did not seem quite as effective as we were sort of hoping it would be?
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? It's like, do we experiment anymore, or we're like, no, Z, that was bad. That was bad, dude. We need something else to actually beat these guys, because as we mentioned privately, these teams are really close when it comes to standings. So this is not a matchup that matters just yet, as both these teams also have quite a few more series to play. But this is definitely a team where a 2-0 feels just quite a bit nicer than a 1-1 when it comes to who actually makes upper bracket. And I think if four Zoomers don't make upper bracket, that's the first in a few BTS Pro series. So we'll have to see if they're actually going to make it this time around, or if SA proves too hard to beat, as so many NA teams have kind of fallen prey to.
Yeah, the SA teams have been playing pretty well here, and as you said, both of these teams still have, I think, over half of their schedules remaining, but you would rather have the points early and not need them rather than hit the back end of your schedule and suddenly realize, oh damn, we have to win out in order to make upper bracket. So Infamous get that point on the board for themselves. We'll see now if they can get the 2-0, or if four Zoomers are going to be able to pull off another 1-1 split. They went down in game 1 in the previous series as well, pulled it back for a game 2 victory. So we shall see what they have in store for us. But for now, we are going to be taking a little bit of a break. When we come back, though, it'll be the final game of the day, game 2 between Infamous and four Zoomers.